Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated Legacy action. Today we are playing a deck that a donor has asked me to play. Now this is the latest brand of Death and Taxes. We had mono white taxes, then we had black and white taxes, and now things have gone back round to red and white taxes, which was a thing once upon a time, and we're back at it again. So Death and Taxes is a fair deck that aims to play some creatures that mess with your opponent's ability to play the game and then generate incremental advantage over time. So we have things that like block removal in the form of Mother of Runes, Giver of Runes. We have Aether Vial, which can stop counter spells from mattering. We have Spirit of the Labyrinth to stop card draws. We have these Recruiter of the Guards to go find us whatever we need. So we've got some removal in Flickerwisp and Solitude. We've got Stoneforge Mystic for our threat with Lion Sash, Umezawa's Jitte, and Complete. We've also got some removal in Swords to Plowshares. We've got ourselves the Flickerwisp, so we can get more value off of our Recruiter of the Guard. And now we're going to see what the red splash is getting us. So 4 Broadside Bombardiers. This just gives us incredible control over the board while this is in play. You've seen it before on the channel on both sides of the battlefield, and it absolutely owns. And I can see why you'd want to play it here. Lets you throw like rubbish Aether Vials later on, just, you know, they become damage spells. Any little creatures, they become damage spells. We've also got 2 Megas of the Moon that we can reach for with our recruiters to try and mess with the mana base of some opponents, which is definitely a thing that we're going to want to do. And because we're running another colour, we can't run like a load of Rishadan Ports and Ghost Cores or whatever. So we just got the 4 Wastelands to mess with our opponent's mana and the 2 Magus, because if we've got the Magus, that should do enough work. Another card we have here is Ajani, Nacatl, Pariah. Sorry. So this is a 2 mana 1/2. When it enters, we get a 2/1 cat. When another cat dies, this flips, and we can pump our cats, we can make some more cats and deal damage, and then we can like Cataclysm somebody. So that's a pretty cool card. And if we've got some red permanents, it's going to obviously be a lot better. But this is a reasonably fine thing to flicker. What you'll notice is missing from this deck list is Thalia. Thalia is no longer really that good in Legacy. People just kind of ignore it a bit too easily these days. So that's why we've gone for the full Spirit of the Labyrinth, and we've got these Ajanis in the other slot as well. In terms of utility lands, we've got 4 Karakas, and we've got 1 Witch Enchanter, which can obviously be a land or a spell. And that's pretty much it. One nice thing to note, Witch Enchanter, if you play as a land, can be flickered with Flickerwisp and then turn into a creature in the late game. That's a nice cool trick to have. We've got a couple of Elegant Parlors, but we're mostly on the basics over here. And that's pretty much it. We are a Yorion deck, so our sideboard has lost a slot for the Yorion, but we get so much value out of blinking these creatures, so it makes sense. And then we've got a selection of things. We've got Faerie Macabre, which can be found with Recruiter, so that's some Graveyard Hate. Containment Priest, Graphics Cage, some more removal, some more Graveyard Hate, some Red Blast, which is one of the reasons to play red right now. You get to deal with Psychic Frog more easily. And another Magus when we need that, and then a Wrath of the Skies in case we need to lean on some sweepers. And that's the deck. I think the best way to show this off is to show this off. So like and subscribe, and let's start playing some red-white strawberry Death and Taxes. Alright, we have our opener for the very first game of this deck. We have a pretty good curve, Mother of Runes into Stoneforge Mystic. Like, if that's not good, then our deck's not good at the end of the day. Now, there will definitely be some matchups where this won't be good. Like, we're just going to get bopped very hard by combo, but that's kind of what happens when you sign up with a deck like this. Nethergoyf. Okay, so probably on a fairer matchup, we can certainly jam here. Right, we'll just go and get our basic planes and play our Mother of Runes. If we untap with this, then we know that if our Stoneforge resolves, we're going to be able to get through the turn with it unless our opponent has double removal spell on it. Nethergoyf, not so threatening right now. It's probably going to be a 2-3 on attacks when they crack a land or whatever after this Brainstorm. It could be bigger if they have a Ponder as well. But we've got a decent amount of life to work with because we haven't been hit yet. So let's just see how this pans out for us. Something to think about as well is whether or not we want to play around a Stifle with our fetch land here for turn 2. We'll see what our opponent leaves up and then go from there. Would I rather have an Ajani or a Stoneforge? I'd rather have a Stoneforge. Does that mean we're offering up the Ajani to the Days Gods? That is something to consider here. Alright, so we lost our creature. Alternatively, we could play out this Giver of Runes and then kind of do the same. Do I want to try and get this Elegant Parlor out of the way now? I don't think so. Then we just play out this Flooded Strand, play out this Giver of Runes, and the next turn we can just play a Stoneforge around a Days with protection from removal as well. Let's see how our opponent feels about this one. We do have another Elegant Parlor in our deck, so we can fetch that up and get a little bit of Surveil action in our opponent's end step. Because our opponent is, you know, trying to win with relatively fair game plan, you know, they're trying to attack us with creatures, maybe remove some of our things, counter some of our things. That gives us a time to play a bit more fairly. If there's some kind of Psychic Frog in play, then obviously everything changes because that card is pretty strong. All right, we're getting Thought Seized here. So we get to see that we have 2 reasonable 2-drops. I think Stoneforge is the better of the 2, unless we draw a red permanent. But we don't have that many red permanents, and now our opponent also knows that we're playing red here. Right, I took the Stoneforge. They made the same assessment we did in terms of what the better card was. This now puts a sorcerer in our opponent's graveyard for the purposes of their Netherglyph. We've got a Brainstorm here. Our opponent still hasn't played a land. I think Netherglyph is likely to be the only black threat in our opponent's deck. I think their other threats are going to be Tamiyo, Murktide Regent, Brazen Borrow, and of course Psychic Frog. So, for the purposes of our Pyroblast, obviously Psychic Frog is black as well, but it is blue. Get tapped by the Netherglyph. We just take it. A Tamiyo. They've gone through 2 Brainstorms, so the chances of flipping this immediately are relatively low. Let's get some Surveil action going. Let's see if we can find our way out of this one. I will take this Karakas. That gives us a pretty good turn here. We'll play out the Karakas. Play out the Ajani here. We're playing this out so we can play around Daze, which is we're just in with our creature here. And we'll just bounce this Tamiyo right now. So we can block with our Cat Warrior and flip our Ajani. And then we can sort of roadblock this Netherglyph for a while with just making a token every turn. If we find a red permanent, then we get to go pretty wild. But we've got lots of good draws in our deck. We can work towards a whole bunch of things. It's the Murktide. It is the Murktide. Our deck does have a lot of removal in, but we do need to find it. So they're not attacking with the Netherglyph now. Spirit of the Labyrinth. If our cat token dies, that doesn't actually help us that much, does it? I think we're going for... Get the Spirit of the Labyrinth in. And then it's... I think we're just going to use this Elegant Parlor. I don't think Wastelanding our opponent when they got 3 mana makes a lot of sense here. Witch Enchanter we probably want to play as a spell at some point, even if it's just a 2-2 guy. Our opponent's got a 2-turn clock. We're just trying to get towards a Source of Plowshares or Solitude. Skyclave Apparition is kind of like those things, but also not like those things for the position we're in right now. Because we need to just be able to answer Murktide Regent specifically. If I flip the Ajani, it might give our opponent an alternative thing to attack. That actually might be quite useful for us. But I'm quite fearful of the big dragon. But we've got a lot of Solitudes and Plows we can draw. But we don't have a lot of turns to try and draw them. The other option we had that turn was to put the Yorion in hand and then try and cast the Yorion next turn as a chump blocker. But I think I would rather try to... Alright, so we're getting hit with this Go for the Throat on our Giver of Ruin. So this can only target... Okay, we're going to target this and give it protection from black. It can only target other creatures. So the plan here is... They probably won't attack with the Netherglyph. Because if they did, we could block it with a Spirit and the Cat token and kill it. But now we are very much under the gun. We've got 1 turn to draw the Source of Plowshares. We did not draw the Source of Plowshares. We don't have enough... mana to play the Yorion. So we could have got the Yorion last turn and put it into play this turn. But instead we just die. I don't know, maybe we are supposed to get the Yorion there, but it doesn't feel great. I guess the Spirit of the Labyrinth doesn't feel great either, but it stops our opponent cantripping to better things. So we want more red cards. That's what we want for this matchup. And I also like this Path to Exile. I think our matchup here is actually pretty good. So, what do we not require? I do not believe Umezawa's Jitte does enough in this matchup. That's one we can get out. Lion Sash does have text. I don't mind having that around. Giver of Runes is fine. It's just a lightning rod for removal. Do I want to be wastelanding my opponent when we're trying to play the blasts and things? I don't think we are. So maybe we can cut our wastelands. That sounds a little sketchy perhaps, but we'll see. And what else are we supposed to put out? We were keeping our removal in, so that's the Solitudes. We want our Broadside Bombardiers. We want our Magus of the Moon. Skyclave Apparition gets rid of all of their threats apart from Murktide, so we're definitely keeping that. Flickerwisp is just one of our value engines. This is a matchup where Spirit of the Labyrinth looks really good. Maybe we're trimming a Stoneforge. Like, Ajani is double bodies. Let's get rid of at least a couple of Wastelands here. You don't really want to wasteland a Delver deck. One of our Ajanis. You can also Ajani loop it with the Karakas. Just a little bit reluctant about reducing our 2-drop count too much. Because if we're chucking in some extra... We've got an extra 3-drop here, but we have got a load more 1-drops. So we're replacing 2-drops with 1-drops. They are reactive 2-drops though. Would I rather have creatures over these Wastelands? I think I probably would, right? Get a couple of Ajanis in there. Okay, we have another perfectly serviceable Death and Taxes hand. Finding a land on turn 2 is kind of clutch here. So we could just lead off on this Elegant Parlor to try and work towards that. And we're going to be facing some daze checks and stuff. But I think this is good enough. Skyclave. I don't really want another Skyclave. We just want some more mana, maybe some Flickerwisp action, Recruiter, Source of Plowshares, a bunch of stuff that's good. Obviously all of our Red Blast are excellent here. Our opponent probably has some amount of Consigned to Memory in their deck as well. Pretty good against what we're doing over here. Alright. Just some enter the battlefield tap lands. Nice and chill so far. Source to Plowshares. Pretty happy to see that. If we set our opponent back a long way with the days, I don't mind that. If they have an Orcish Bowmasters, that's very good against our Spirit of the Labyrinth. I'm not a fan of that. Does that mean we're playing this Stoneforge? I think it does. If they let the Stoneforge go and just remove it, they can play like a threat. I just don't want to give them a free Orcish Bowmasters target because they probably have boarded in a couple of Bowmasters here. Right, let's just try the Stoneforge. If they daze this, then they set themselves back a little bit. Alright, that's fine. Because we have the Yorion, so we've got an extra card than we should have to begin the game with that we can leverage later on. And because we don't have another land in hand, we can't just sit there waiting to draw a land and try and make our plays around a daze. We just have to kind of play into it. Set our opponent back. Alright, they get to take our best card. There's options here. We'll get some information on what our opponent's doing based on what they take. They can't take us off of removal because we have 2 removal spells, but our removal spells do different things. One of them is obviously a lot more mana efficient, but another one is a threat that can also be reused later on. Just to wait and see what our opponent's going for. They're going for the Mother. Okay, so that suggests our opponent has removal they wish to leverage. So our next player is quite likely to get killed. So we have to ask ourselves, what creature are we happiest with having killed? I guess it's the Spirit of the Labyrinth because we have another one. So our opponent can't ponder until they've got this off the board. Well, they can ponder. They just don't get a card from it. They can brainstorm and it goes really badly for them. Because they still have to do the put 2 cards back on top. Another Thoughtseize. Okay, if they got rid of the Mother last time, I wonder what they're going to go for now. They've gone for the other Spirit. The Wasteland, we're going to lose our Elegant Parlor. And we seem to have missed a land drop. Now, I did board out some Wastelands. I think on the draw, I'm more... Just another Thoughtseize. On the draw, I'm more interested in Wastelands than I am on the play. Because we're more likely to be trying to play around the days that way. Right, there is an Undercity Sewers. So we're going to get another crack with our Spirit of the Labyrinth. So we're doing some damage here. Another Plow. That's pretty reasonable. Right, so we've got our opponent down to 7. Now they know that they're going to get some more life off of these Plows down the line. But they have to have a creature to do that. A Fatal Push. There goes our only pressure. There goes a Ponder for our opponent. Not a surprise that that's the first thing they cast after the creature that stops them from drawing extra cards gets out of the way. They did not shuffle. Are they going to follow up with a threat like a Tamiyo or a Nethergoyf? No. A Marsh Flats. So we've got double Plow available. We can go into Recruit with the Guard relatively easily from here. Another Ponder. Now they cast a Murktide and we Plow it, then it kind of undoes all the damage we did. That's fine. Okay, they shuffled off that Ponder. They played a fetch land. Am I playing a basic here or am I getting an Elegant Parlor? I think we're just going to draw. Have a slightly higher amount of lands on our deck for our draw step. A Magus of the Moon. Okay, we're still just drawing cards here. A Psychic Frog, you say, with 3 cards in hand. And a Tamiyo. Sure. 2 cards in hand. We'll fire off a Plow on the Frog. Okay, I'm not going to fire off a Plow on his Tamiyo. Our opponent could brainstorm and save it. As much as I want to get a head source for this, I think we just have to play it a bit cautiously and just jam something like a Spirit of the Labyrinth. Pretty good against Tamiyo, as it turns out. Now, we can get stung by a Daze here, which would suck on a turn 8 to get hit by a Daze. So they can still use these clues to draw extra cards. They just have to draw it on our turn. But the Tamiyo is unlikely to flip. Alright, Tamiyo is back on the menu here. If they flip the Tamiyo, we do have a Skyclave Apparition, which we can use to deal with the Tamiyo down the line. We might be able to cut our opponent completely off black mana. I don't know if they've got 2 basics in their deck. It's possible, though. Cracking the clue. So now there's shields down on this Tamiyo. I'm very reluctant to plow this, because that's our only way of dealing with the Murktide Regent, which will definitely kill us. So I think we're just going to play this Mother. We're going to draw land at some point, and then our Skyclave Apparition can come in and deal with the Tamiyo. Opponent is accruing a decent amount of cards now. They're cracking the clue. If we can drop a Magus, we can shut off all of their black mana and leave them with just 1 blue mana to work with every turn, which could be quite a potent play. Getting hit by a Thoughtseize. I guess we take the Tamiyo out now. I'm going to brainstorm response. Haven't had a brainstorm yet, so it's certainly possible. Yep, there it is. Okay. So now they take the Skyclave Apparition. The other option there is just to let them hit us. I think the Plow is what they take there. Somebody who's played more games with Death and Taxes will know if you're supposed to let that Thoughtseize hit you or not. At this precise moment in time, it certainly feels like I would have rather just let the Thoughtseize hit us and not have his Tamiyo. But they would just take the... they take the Thoughtseize... They take the Plow and then they flip the Tamiyo. Yeah. But now we're probably just going to lose this Tamiyo. Alright, they do have one of each basic. And they just killed our guy. Yeah, the 2 extra cards they got off this Tamiyo are absolutely sending us to the Shadow Realm. Recruiter of the Guard, that's not the one. Maybe boarding out the Wastelands was a bad idea. Just having them as mana is pretty good at this point. But we only need one more land and we basically get to do everything our deck wants to do. Okay, so there's another Goyf now. There's a Wasteland. Our next non-basic is not going to have a great time, is it? Flooded Strand. So they'll just Wasteland us down to fewer lands if we don't get a basic here. So we are on getting the Recruiter going. They got a daze. Okay. We are getting absolutely handled here. The quality of blue-black cards in Legacy is pretty strong right now. We didn't really get to do anything with all of these, like 5 blasts or whatever we've got. So Tamiyo ticks up this turn, next turn goes ultimate and we lose a game. So we need to draw a Skyclave Apparition on our next turn. A Flickerwisp is okay, we can flicker the Tamiyo out, stop it from going ultimate. Right, getting another Brainstorm, and they're firing off straight away. They know what's in our hand. If they have a counter spell, then we're going to get done here. Like Ponder to shuffle away those cards most likely. Alright, deck. Needs to be good. It's not good. We don't have anything we can fetch with the Recruiter that helps here. No. Well, the Tamiyo is at 3 now. We're going to get our basic. Am I looking for a Magus of the Moon? Doesn't really shut anything our opponent's doing down, does it? Let's go and get the Recruiter. You found a counterspell opponent? Okay. I'm kicking a little bit here. Let's go and get ourselves a Skyclave Apparition, I think is probably the one. Then we can cast that and get rid of the Tamiyo or the Nether Goyf. I'm really surprised our opponent went to get back the Brainstorm then instead of just ticking up the Tamiyo. Because they had to just fade us having like maybe 3 ofs in our deck. That would make a difference. I guess we have the Broadside actually. And now they've seen the red, they probably know that we have the Broadside. So that's a few more copies of stuff that can make a difference there. But we'd still be able to Tamiyo because we'd only hit it for 1 damage. So it would go from 8 to 7. Curious. Schooling Tower being cracked. Getting another Surveil Land. So I'm going to take 4 again. Because our Recruiter doesn't pressure the Tamiyo in any meaningful way. I don't think they've upticked the Tamiyo yet. I assume they will. They could minus it and go and get another spell. Just upping it, sure. I do like the Broadside Bombardiers here. I don't think it's going to resolve. Either of these cards get rid of the Tamiyo. The Broadside has a slightly easier time of doing it, potentially. So we can attack, get 1 damage in, throw this at this, but then there's a lot of ways that goes wrong, I suppose. Okay. Let's go for this, and we'll hold up a Pyroblast looking mana here. Okay, so we'll get rid of the Tamiyo. It's certainly possible that our opponent has another one. We can now start to think about the Yorion. We've got Borrower. Yeah, okay, so we're going to have to start doing some blocking now. Mishra's Bauble. Under the bus you go, Recruiter of the Guard. Because we want to keep our Skyclave around so we can flicker it and take out another Goyf. If we draw a Flickerwisp, which is one of our better draws here. Ajani. Okay, that buys us some amount of leeway there. We don't really want to be doing Broadside stuff. Okay, I think it is the Ajani. And then next turn we can have a red permanent. We can play the Bombardiers, throw the cat, have a red permanent as well. If our opponent just plays another Borrower right now, then we lose. We probably want to keep our guys back. Maybe that's really cowardly and we should have just gone for the Bombardiers kill. I don't know. And our opponent's got a full grip of cards. Well, not full grip. They got 4 cards over there. Because if we go for the Bombardiers and like we go to attack with it, or we go to the beginning of our combat and they like kill our Skyclave or something, then we're just not winning at that point. This line is a bit different, but gives us a way out. Yeah. Maybe we're supposed to go for it last turn. I don't know. I'm playing not to lose rather than. Okay, so we have high cast Force of Will mana here. Alright, Broadside Bombardiers. Are you good? Oh wow, we could have probably gone for it last turn then. Alright, we took a slightly safer line. I think I might want a couple of Wastelands in on the draw. I did say that earlier. But what are we going to want them instead of? That's the hard part here. The Ajani felt pretty good. We didn't even see Bowmasters actually. Certainly curious. We just want to be a control deck and make our land drops for the most part. And one of these Stoneforges and one of these Ajanis. We're still going to leave 2s in the board, but I don't think that's a problem at all. Alright. We should just be able to grind our opponent down. We have so many answers for their threats. We have probably more answers than they have threats overall. We've got a Plow. We've got basics to play on. So we can plow into Stoneforge. That's not too shabby. We're going to see a 1-drop. We are. 2-3. Little curd ape over there. Our plains. I don't really want to plow into a daze. Oh, they're brainstorming. I think I will plow this now. So this way we get to untap and try and get our opponent with a day with our Stoneforge, and if they have a daze, that doesn't actually matter to us. So I think this gets us the basic mountain. Play the Stoneforge. Right, there's a daze. That's fine. We have a second one. We didn't really care about this first one resolving. I'm happy to trade it 1-for-1 and set our opponent back a land. They can't play a Psychic Frog if we set them back a land, and that's the card we're actually scared of. Alright, we have a Red Blast accessible now. So I think to make sure that we're not wastelandable, we fetch this first thing. We've only got the one mountain on our deck. Just have a quick check to make sure that is the case. Yes, just one mountain on our deck. So we're going to get plains now and play out Stoneforge again. We have Frog covered. I think I'm just going to take the Fair card here. Just take the Sash. Because if they kill our Stoneforge, then we at least have a thing we can deploy and do stuff with. It can grow pretty large. It can keep their Nethergoyf in check. It's going to do some work. I'm going to take 3 this turn down to 15. That's not the end of the world. Whatever. We can shrink this quite easily with our... Are you going to interact with our Stoneforge, or do we get to make your Nethergoyf do nothing? We've already got an answer lock and loaded for something like a Murktide or a Frog. Murktide is going to need some more cards in the bin. But they have a fetch land sort of thing. Okay, we've got a Tamiyo. Am I Pyroblasting this on the stack? Our opponent hasn't played a land, but we do have to worry about days. I think we're just going to let that happen. Alright, they don't have a blue source here. Is this bait? Oh, okay. Our opponent just scooped that one up. They saw us tapping the red mana for the red elemental blast. It kind of did a thing where it started to go on a stack and stopped because they conceded. Maybe that was enough for our opponent because they realised this matchup's going to be horrible and they're not going to be able to beat this Slash and stuff. But alright, I'll take it. Maybe we should have been more aggressive before and going for it with our Bombardiers when we had the chance. But I just wanted to get a thing that gave me 2 bodies in play. Anyway, first round done. Let's go to round 2. A 1-lander with 3 1-mana spells. A 1-lander with 3 1-mana spells. And we have a Solitude. And one of those spells is a big mana rock. Alright. I'm going to believe in the heart of the cards here. If this was a non-basic land, like a Plateau, then I would definitely not keep this. But the fact that we can go and get a basic plains, we can play our 1-drop. We've got some more 1-drops we can play. We've got this vial ticking up now. I think this is a reasonable keep. And let's face it, we all know that Screw beats Flood. Although, okay, we don't care about Vector Bauble. It stops our Solitude. But that's about it. Not a land. Okay, well our opponent gets to see what we're about now. So Micah Spawn could come down as early as next turn, and that would give us some real kittens. They could play Planar Nexus, exile Elvish Spirit Guide, and blow up our land. Well, I suppose they can't actually blow up our land, can they? They need to kick it to blow up land, right? They need to have 2 Spirit Guides do that. It's still possible, but we're probably going to get buried underneath this slew of things our opponent has presented to us. But this is where having the Magus of the Moon as an option in our deck massively helps us out. Let's put another counter on our Aether Vial. We can't find it, can we? There's no point attacking because our opponent has the 1 ring. I think I'm probably supposed to keep this 1-lander. Alright, our opponent is drawing some more Magic the Gathering cards. Not great for us. Ancient Tomb, that's at least going to batter their life a little bit. Grim Monolith, that is unexpected. We don't normally see the Grim Monolith in the Cloud Post decks. Maybe this is a fully colourless Cloud Post deck. Coveted Jewel. Alright, maybe we're just a Jewel deck then. Okay. Our opponent might just be winning the game this turn. So they're going to do the Coveted Jewel, they're going to transmute it or copy artifact, whatever. Get another Coveted Jewel, draw 3 more cards, add 3 more mana. They can do this a few times, and then they can transmute artifact into like a Paradox engine, and then just have every spell generating them 9 mana and X cards from the 1 ring. Now if our opponent somehow fizzles, we do get to get all of these Coveted Jewels off our opponent, and our mana troubles are gone. The Blood Moon is going to be less good than I thought it was going to be, because our opponent isn't Cloud Post, they're just the Jewel deck, which is going to be a horrible matchup, but I think we've got some tools. Alright, so here's the Paradox Engine. This is the exact line that I said was going to happen. If they play any spell, I'm going to concede the game, because then they just get to untap this, and we're just in the dirt. They out 14 cards. Alright, that'll do. So, what do I want for a deck like this? The Pyroblast and the Red Blast do stop our opponent's stuff. The Wrath of the Skies is fine. Not great, but maybe it takes out some things. And that's pretty much where we're at. I guess the Magus of the Moon is fine. We don't need Plows. They can get out of here. We don't need Jitte. That can get out of here. Lion Sash is unlikely to be very helpful, and it's going to take us a decent amount of mana to actually do anything with it. Surface Extraction is probably not something that's going to work very well for us. Spirit of the Labyrinth is going to be excellent, so I definitely want that. And probably trim a Solitude. We want to keep some in because they sometimes run things like Worm Coil as a pivot plan out of the sideboard. The players can't cast spells from library doesn't impact things like Transmute Artifact because that just searches out and they're not playing it. Do I want these Wrath of the Skies? Like, they might come in handy enough. I think we'll give this a go. But yeah, our deck wants to play against more Delver strategies than what our opponent's doing over here. Okay, we can keep this one. Are we just going to hold up the Red Blast every turn? I think we probably are, because it hits Transmute and Copy Artifact. Those are both like clutch parts of our opponent's deck and the thing that makes them work. It does mean we're going to be a little bit slow out the gate. I guess we can play a Marsh Flats, and if we need to, we can go and get an Elegant Parlor at end step, just to get a bit of fixing. I mean, that's kind of worse if we have a Magus of the Moon that we're playing, but we don't have one in our hand, and this way we get a little bit of selection. Okay, that is kind of the thing I might be looking for, but I think we just want lands right now, right? Now, we did board these in. I don't think we want to. I think we just want to make sure we hit our land drops. Okay, let's play Plains and get our Giver of Runes down. It would have worked out fine if we kept the Magus on top, as it turns out. But we didn't know there was going to be a land underneath it for the following turn. Skyclave Apparition can take out a One Ring, so it's very useful on that front. We're looking for Spirit of the Labyrinth plus Red Blast to back it up. Print is very slow out the doors over there. Alright, this is the play that I said we wanted. So here we are. And we can protect this with Giver of Runes. You got Force of Will over there? They do not. Okay. So now we get to stop our opponent's shenanigans. They have to have double bounce spell because of our Giver of Runes. Our opponent's trying to cast something over there. Kozilek's Command. Sure, they do get to draw the card here as well. So they have removal for the Giver because this is another target creature. Although it does allow you to protect colourless, whereas Mother of Runes does not. And being able to protect from colourless is pretty good in the current meta with all the Eldrazi and Cloudpost and obviously whatever our opponent's playing to. But they're likely to try and remove our Spirit of the Labyrinth with Kozilek's Command or Dismember style effects. So our Red Elemental Blast might not be very helpful for that front. The One Ring. So they can still draw in our turn to get a little bit deeper. We'd like to draw another land, but if we don't, that's also not the end of the world for us because we get to play the Stoneforge instead. No targets because it's already in our hand. Great. But we can put the Kaldra in next turn, and that should probably tell our opponent that we do have the Kaldra. Pithing Needle. That probably names our Stoneforge Mystic, I would imagine. Maybe we're turning our creatures sideways the old-fashioned way, instead of these putting in equipments and bashing our opponent's face. Clipping a Transmute Artifact with a Red Blast will feel so good, because not only does it stop them getting their artifact they want, but it takes one out of play, because I believe Transmute Artifact is sacrificed as a cost. Although it's an old card, so maybe the template is weird on it. Relic of Sauron, sure. I think Transmute Artifact might actually be a weird template where the sacrificing the artifact is part of the resolution, which is a bit unusual, but we'll see. They were thinking about something over there. They're worried about our Red Blast, perhaps? Right, they're getting their bonus card. This is going to still make them take more damage as things go by, though. Do I want to Skyclave Apparition away the Relic of Sauron? Possibly. Is that better than the One Ring? The One Ring is giving them one extra card a turn, but it's dealing them damage. We need some damage to be dealt to our opponent, really. Let's get on the plains, I think. So we can take the Relic, or we can take the Pithing Needle. If we take the Pithing Needle, we have lethal next turn with our Stoneforge. Why have they got blue here? I'm just going to take this Pithing Needle so we can get lethal next turn, because otherwise they'll be on 1 life, right? So go 7 here, and we would put them to 1. Sure, Grim Monolith is fine. Phyrexian Metamorph. What is this going to copy? Probably the One Ring. Is this what I'm countering? Or is this bait? If it's the One Ring, that does buy them a whole nother turn. I think we do want to counterspell this. If our opponent gets a whole nother turn, that's 2 extra cards. There's a lot of potential problems for us. And they are locked a little bit under their own Ancient Tomb here. Okay, they had a copy of the One Ring anyway. So now they get to get rid of the damage dealing effect that was happening. Let's draw a card. A Marsh Flats. Place one out. Do I want to get a Yorion into hand? I think so. So we can pitch cast to Solitude if we need to. We can put in a Kaldra at end step. Got some options here. Why couldn't Kaldra say damage can't be prevented? And we could get through this One Ring. They've got some mana now. The Urza's Tower is going to be tapping for the full whack due to the Planar Nexus. They got something big, then they can have us here. Copy Artifact. We're just buying another turn. They are. We can just sit behind these One Rings for a long time. This means it's better for us, I think, to get an Elegant Parlor here, rather than put the Kaldra in. Do not require a Solitude. Yep, so our opponent gets to activate the One Ring. Spirit of the Labyrinth. So this Yorion will turn off our opponent's ability to copy Artifact. So they're going to get a 1-1 here. That doesn't really matter. At the end step, we get to take out their One Ring. So no more copy Artifact or Phyrexian Metamorphs to give them more One Ring protection. Right, they're untapping the Grim Monolith. It's over to our opponent. Cosette's command's pretty good here. Let's find them something, but nope, could not find them what they required. So now we get to go to a game 3. I like how it's sideboarded here. It was certainly annoying that our Stoneforge couldn't find anything, but I think that's just the thing that we have to live with sometimes. Right, we'll go back in again. I'm not convinced on these Wrath of the Skies. Like, I think they might be a thing that can take us out of a bad spot. Now, if our opponent's got some keys, it's unlikely they have keys with the composition of their deck. But if they do, we can take those out alongside their monoliths. Which is probably just better than having a Source to Plowshares. Right, let's reveal our bird. Our bird serpent. This hand is very slow to do anything. Which is kind of how our hand feels, how our hands are going to feel a lot. But we can shut down their mana, which is useful. We can shut down like one of their big spells, which is also useful. We can also Wasteland them, and maybe that takes the ground out from underneath them. We don't have a Spirit of the Labyrinth, and we don't have a Recruiter of the Guard to find a Spirit of the Labyrinth. That is the issue I have here. I think we can do better. This finds one. I will take that. I don't believe we need a Solitude. We can always go fetch a Solitude if our opponent has pivoted to a Wormcoil Engine. Opponent's mulligan to 5. But a lot of their deck is just built around drawing lots of cards. Right, there's a Saga backup plan. It's pretty strong, but we can Flickerwisp out their tokens. What are we doing with our mana here? Do I want to get a Surveil land? I think I do. Our opponent is not going to mess with our mana base. Is this Ancient Tomb? Make some Sagas? Yep. Let's have a little looky with our Parlor. Do I like this? I don't think so. We've already got one. There's a little bit of diminishing returns there. A Red Blast. I don't hate the Red Blast. Do I want to play this Stoneforge? Or do I just want to hold up the Red Blast? Let me get the Stoneforge down this turn, and then next turn we can hold up Stoneforge and Red Blast. Means we might be taking a hit from as a Saga token, but our opponent doesn't have a lot in the way of artifacts right now. Yep. And Kaldra can beat the artifacts just as well as Flickerwisp can. In fact, better, because it can just sit there and just snipe them down if they ever attack. Are we making mana opponent, or are we making guys? Making guys. Okay. No, we're floating the mana. Oh, okay. That is way scarier. Candelabra of Tornos. It's not worth the most amount of mana right now, but if they've got a soul land, I can jump up a little bit. Okay, this looks like a One Ring turn. There it is. Okay. So we do need to find ourselves a Spirit of the Labyrinth. Pretty sharpish. I think the Spirit is going to be better than the Skyclave. It does mean we're kind of priced into going shields down on the Red Blast. This is always going to be a difficult matchup for us. So I think we just want the Spirit here. Unless we think we can try and kill our opponent. They're just going to always have these One Rings kicking around, aren't they? Get the Spirit of Labyrinth out. We don't really care about our life total. Our opponent can win in whatever way they see fit. Don't even know what their win condition is going to be. It could be Walking Ballista, it could be something off of Khan, it could be a Thassa's Oracle, it could be Aetherflux Reservoir. You rarely get to see the actual win condition of these decks. Sitting through it is a little bit too much. So if they don't go shields up with the One Ring, we can jam with our Kaldra whilst holding up the Red Blast. Or we can deploy the Spirit. But I don't believe we're going to get another turn here. Yep, copy artifact. So if we held up the Red Blast, we could have hit this. But is one Red Blast going to be enough? Because our opponent already got one coveted jewel that they paid for. And now they're just running away with it. So they should be able to win the game pretty handily here. There's a Paradox Engine. If they play any other spell, we lose the game. There it is. I will concede to that. Here's a tough one. We don't have any like Stony Silence type effects to really jam a deck like this up. So that's that. Let's go to round 3. I don't think I can keep a Wasteland Aether Vial hand, so we're going to mulligan this one. 2-drop, 3-drop. I'll take it. I think we probably don't want the Wasteland here if we're playing these land drops. I might come back to bite us if we draw some more lands. Oh dear, our opponent's mulligan to 5. We're just going to get comboed 4. And we're not beating an Echo of Eons Lion's Eye Diamond style deck, which is the most common type of list that mulls that low. Alright, I'm going to play out this Flooded Strand so our opponent considers us being a control deck. And maybe doesn't just jam straight away if they have it. Oh, they were just a really poor Delver hand. Okay. I can certainly be okay with that one. Right, we will crack this and get an Elegant Parlor. We already have a Plateau, so we're slightly exposed to Wasteland anyway. We start getting basics here, then we can get wasted off of a colour, potentially. And oh, okay, that's a perfect card. Love it. Love to see it. Snap this off. We've already got a Solitude if there's another follow-up. We're just playing around Daze. And we're playing around Spell Pierce by doing it in our turn. You don't see a lot of Spell Pierces now, but there are some floating around. Especially in decks that have specifically Delver's Secrets. Not that you see that many Delver's Secrets these days. Tamiyo's kind of replacing Delver. Which seems a bit odd, but there we are. So this is going to be the... Okay, it's the Thoughtseize. Alright, opponent, you can have your Thoughtseize. They took the Ajani rather than the Solitude. That tells us that our opponent doesn't have any threats immediately. Oh, we have a second Parlor, actually. We could have gone to get that. Do I want to play out this Flickerwisp? I think I do. It gets our clock going a little bit. And we can blink our Elegant Parlor. A Brainstorm. So we get some Surveil out of it. The other option there is just to put the Yorion in hand. But our opponent's already shown us Thoughtseizes. So I'm a little reluctant to put the Yorion in hand because it might be nice to have it as a thing we can reach for and then use it to pitch straight away. Do a Solitude. Alright. Also, due to our opponent's mulligans, if they're trading 1 for 1, that's going to favour us massively because they started this game on 2 less cards than us. Got Frog, just a Delver. Old school Delverinos. Ajani. Yep, I'll take it. They can't force this because they got 1 card in hand. I don't care about the Delver enough to point this Solitude at it. If they Thoughtseize us, we can decide whether or not we want to pitch both these Solitudes to kill a Delver or not. But I'd rather take something like a Murktide or a Psychic Frog. Something of that ilk would be the better thing for me to kill. Fatal Push. Sure, it's gone. It has to be a cat that dies, otherwise we could evoke our creature if it was any creature. No. We're going to put this Yorion into our hand now. If we find a land next turn, that's great. If we find a spell, that's probably going to be pretty good too. There's a few spells that will be a bit stinky here, like Aether Vial, probably not really where I want to be at this stage of the game. Mother of Runes, that sort of jam. But we've got a little bit of life to work with. Our opponent's unlikely to have Reach in their Dimir deck. They're definitely not Grixis with 2 basics in play like that. Right, so we found a land. Attack. In our opponent's upkeep, we will try to Solitude their Insectile Aberration. Or if they tap out in our end step. An Orcish Bowmasters, you say. 1 card in hand. Is that last card in your hand Daze? It is. Okay. So we're going to need another turn to get this Solitude doing its thing. There's the island. There's a Ponder. I didn't shuffle. Wonder what that tells us. Like, I don't think we have a choice at this point. We are just going to be doing this Solitude. We could pitch cast it to play around Daze. Alright, we don't need to do that now. And everything is coming up Millhouse. Our opponent has no blue mana available right now. I think we just cast this. Goodbye, Insectile Aberration. Now they've got to get through on the ground through our 3/2 lifelinker. And we can Yorion blink it, and we can set up the Yorion loop as well. Because we have Karakas. This is the Death and Taxes endgame. It's Yorion, Karakas, and some guys. And that's pretty strong if you get to this sort of stage in a fair matchup like we're in now. But our opponent did mulligan heavily. They go to 4, in fact. Was it 4? I think it was 4 they went to. And they're putting up a pretty good fight here. This sort of shows you the power of these decks. I suppose the 4 extra cards in this situation are the 4 lands we have, and their deck is just playing 1 and 2 drops. Petty Theft. Okay. Yeah, they're coming for a bit more damage. Right, so we know what their hand is here. They can't play the Brazen Borrower yet. I would rather block an Orcish Bowmaster. Actually, does it matter? No, probably not, actually. Let's just take out the Bowmasters. I was thinking, in case we go to block their Orc army and they have another Bowmasters, but then they can just ping our Solitude anyway, so it's kind of the same. I guess they get 1 ping at our face. That could cost us a little bit of damage. They milled the top card off. It was a Polluted Delta. Our opponents had enough because they know we're about to assemble the Yorion Loop. We're also going to gain 3 life in this turn cycle and end up with a massive body. Alright, that's good for us. I would like these red cards. Uncertain about the Magus. I would very much like this Path to Exile. We probably want these Wrath of the Skies. Just all the removal all the time here. If we don't want Maguses, because our opponent showed a propensity to fetch basics immediately. So if we don't want these, because we're not like we can ramp them out super early, what do we want instead? So obviously playing some more removal is a good start. Being able to flicker these Skyclaves is pretty good, but they are a touch on the slow side. Lion Sash is likely to have text in this matchup. The Jitte is likely to actually be good in this matchup as well. Bombardiers is probably fine. I don't know, just playing this Wrath of the Skies alongside our guys doesn't feel where I want to be. So maybe it isn't. We're still trying to find 3 more cuts. We can get rid of a Wasteland here. But reluctant to board out more, since mana's been a bit of a tight issue for us on occasion. Spirit of the Labyrinth when they're showing us main deck Bowmasters. Maybe that has to go, actually. Because that means they're going to have quite a few of them, I would suspect. They're still fine, but you just can't lean on them in the same way. Like, we trade some resources back and forth, then we stick a Spirit. And that's probably going to be better than just running out on turn 2. Do I want to lose the game to a single Wasteland? I don't think I do, so I'm going to mulligan this hand. If this was the Plains, would I keep this hand? I don't know. I don't know what that says about me. Let's mulligan. Mulligan again. We need some mana. Right, we can keep this. We do not want this Kaldra Compleat. We do want all 3 of these cards, which means we're probably just going to play on basics. If we get Stifled, we get Stifled. I think if our opponent plays out anything this turn, we're going to use our fetch land rather than our Plains, just so we can avoid a potential Stifle. So we've got Plow, we've got Ajani, we've got Spirit of the Labyrinth. These are pretty fine cards in the matchup. Like Spirit obviously has the limitations that we mentioned before. Just go and get ourselves... Like, yes, that's awkward if we end up facing down a bunch of Red Blasts in our hand, but we don't have any Red Blasts in our hand right now, and we just really can't afford to get blown out by a Stifle. They're going to take our removal, or they're going to take one of our threats. They're unlikely to take an Ajani since we have 2, but if we have 2, that means it's very easy for us to flip one, because we can just play another one, dies to a legend roll, flips our Ajani. They took our removal spell. We didn't have a threat. Am I okay running this into days? Do we need to run this into days? We can play around days quite happily with what we've got. We're not under pressure. We may as well just make sure we can actually leverage our cards here. If our opponent had a threat, maybe we're more incentivized to get something on the board. Sure, you can do an end of turn brainstorm. There is a Psychic Frog. So the Spirit of the Labyrinth can stop this from drawing cards in theory. But our Spirit of the Labyrinth needs to survive. Another Ajani. So we can play around the days. This is just going to jump. If we play this out and they have an Orcish Bowmasters, we're in a lot of trouble. If we play this out, maybe we can do like a damage race as things go on. I might be tempted to get an Elegant Parlor here. It is a wastelandable land, but we need to dig into some removal pretty sharpish. And you can take 1 hit from the frog, but when you start taking hit 2 and 3, the game just snowballs too much. Attacking into this frog, not an easy thing to do either. They could kill our cat warrior, our Ajani, attack into our Ajani and kill it. That doesn't sound like a great use of their resources. That's what they have. They should probably just be attacking our life total, forcing us to just play another Ajani if we want to flip it. Right. So we're going to see a Murktide here. Okay. Their frog doesn't fly this turn though. It didn't attack. Wild. Alright, I will get an Elegant Parlor because like I said, we are in desperate need of some removal spells. Somehow Psychic Frog is not the scariest thing we have to worry about, which is a real problem. So I think we go play an Ajani. This will flip our other Ajani. So I could play this Ajani and make some more and just make a lot of power. So if our opponent wants to attack us, it's going to come at a cost. I don't hate that. Not wholly unexpected. I think we just have to make another cat here. We don't have a red permanent aside from our Ajani, so we don't get to do the pinging. This is looking very bad for us. Is it just a Murktide? Is it coming at us or is it coming at Ajani? Looks like it's coming at Ajani right now, which does buy us some time to draw some removal. Goodbye, Ajani. Lion Sash pretty bad when they have a Murktide because it just grows their Murktide. I guess it's the turn we get rid of the Underground Sea here because that's their black mana. A Stifle. Oh, so I was right to play around it earlier. We can't attack into Psychic Frog. We've got 3 turns to kill us with the Murktide. Monkish Bowmasters. Yeah, this is why Spirit of the Labyrinth is awkward. Goodbye, friend. Also, you can see your opponent here has been making sure they're rounding out their basics whenever they get the chance to. Right, so Frog is flying. Murktide is growing. This is 10 damage. So 2-turn clock, they get to draw an additional card. We just got a bunch of rubbish cats in play. Are we going to the scoop phase of the game? I think we are. So we go back to the sideboard. These Spirit Labyrinths really do seem bad. Like, they're so bad against Bowmasters, but they're okay like, the rest of the time. I think I'll keep as we've got it here. The Wrath of the Skies is going to be better when you're looking at decks with a bunch of like 1 and 0s. I think your Mox Opals and all that sort of jazz. Because this is a matchup where we need to be putting stuff on the board. Alright. A single land. It's a basic. And we can play an Aether Vial. I'm going to believe in this. Alright, we're just in with the Aether Vial. That's good. Because we already have another what spell we can play and the Solitude. There's enough stuff in his hand to make keeping a 1-lander okay. The fact that it's a basic helps. Maybe if it was a non-basic, it would be better for us because it means I would have mulliganed it. And maybe this was a bad keep. But we have a lot of the tools that we're interested in here. Rip the land like a boss. Let's do it. Let's manifest it. There we go. So we know they have Stifles. I'm going to go and get a... I think I want the Mountain because then all of the other lands we can draw, if we draw a 3rd land, will cast a Skyclave. I guess the Wasteland won't. There's the only downside there. But we already have the Aether Vial ticking up. So we have a Vial which can help. Our opponent probably can only interact with it via a Petty Theft. You know, Stifle this. We know our opponent runs Stifle, so we have to be activating this at the end of every one of our opponent's end steps. You're going to kill this before we go to our turn? Certainly worth killing, because your removal's not going to work on anything else. We've got some action over here. A Brazen Borrower use. Sorry, not Brazen Borrower. An Orcish Bowmaster. Goodbye, Mother of Runes. Yep. I'd very much like to put another counter on my Aether Vial. A Red Blast. Okay. I'm down with that. And then next turn we can start doing Skyclave stuff. Let's see if our opponent stifles an Aether Vial on 2 activation. I doubt it. It's better just to stifle like the Stoneforge trigger. We'll see. Let's take our beating here for 2. No, they're not scared. I'll take this Aether Vial. You're going to stifle this opponent? Just testing him. Let's put this on to 3. Alright, we've got some interaction here. So we can throw in the Skyclave mid-combat or whatever we fancy that way. We've got a Red Blast and a Plow to leverage here as well. Another Bowmasters, you say? You can Skyclave one Bowmasters, block the other. How do you feel about this Aether Vial opponent? A Fatal Push, you say? That gives our opponent a 2-2. Do I want to kill this Orc Army token? It doesn't feel amazing, does it? I think we're just going to keep our low total a little healthy. We have a Red Blast and a Solitude to deal with some other threats. So do we leave this on 3? Or do we put it up towards 5? I think we put it up towards 5. Another Red Blast. Holding back a Broadside Bombardiers on blocks. That feels wrong, but also we don't really have a better line. Next turn we can have uncounterable Solitude, and then I think we're cooking. We can use a Red Blast to stop a Petty Theft on our Aether Vial if that's how they're going to try and interact with it. You're Thoughtseize me, aren't you? No? There is a Thoughtseize. So we're going to lose our Solitude here. We're probably just getting attacked by the Illusion token because they'll happily trade that for Bombardiers. So this saves us 2 damage. Alright, we're going up to 5 now. Lost the ability to Solitude. Recruiter of the Guard. Wish we had it on 3 still. We can always Red Blast the Illusion token. That doesn't feel good though. Our opponent probably has a bunch of counter magic because we haven't given them opportunities to use it. So getting a land and just playing this Recruiter is not going to feel good either. Delver of Secrets. Okay. Red Blasting this. Destroy target blue permanent, please. Just get them scared. We'll lose our Bombardiers here. So we just enabled them with some Revolt. Right, we're going to say no to this because we have no 6-drops. A Karakas. Alright. Going shields down on the Red Blast. We'll use his removal later. Can we get a Recruit of the Guard through? We can. That's huge. So I think we just want a Solitude here. If we're playing around a bunch of stuff, we probably want to do this now. I hate it, but we're getting rid of the Illusion token because we can at least block the Bowmasters with our Solitude and live. Next turn, we can put the Yorion into our hand, and then we can just start going wild. We're pretty close to assembling our endgame engine. I have to wonder what is in our opponent's hand. He's playing scared of this Red Blast. So they've got Red Blast and like Yorion loops to worry about. Now they might have Consigned to Memory, and their plan is for us to Yorion our board out, and then they stifle the trigger of them getting returned to play, and just take that to remove 2 of our creatures. We still end up with a 4/5, which dodges a lot of their removal like Fatal Push, so it's not the end of the world, but it's certainly irritating if that's why. A Brainstorm. So they're going to have a Revolt. Now they've cracked a Fetch. They want to kill our Recruiter or something. A Petty Theft on the Vial. Sure. Bit irritating. I'm going to attack with our Solitude. I think we'll play a Vial. And we just hold up Red Blast. Goodbye, Karakas. Murktide Regent. We're not going to blast this into days. We're going to wait till our next turn and then try and blast it. Can I blow up your Murktide Regent? They have a Force. That is an issue for us, obviously. You got a day to go with that Force. That'd be pretty bananas. No. Okay. So we can get a Yorion and flicker the Solitude, but that's going to take a while. And in the meantime, we're going to be getting pounded. But we do get to crack back and gain some life with our Solitude. So it should take more than 2 turns for them to kill us. And we can just, you know, draw a removal spell. We did board in more. Put a counter on our Vial. Mother of Runes. That's not the one, is it? Right, in comes the Solitude. Problem is, they play the Borrower here. We play this out. Our opponent knows our hand. So they just play the Borrower, untap, swing for 11. And then we're dead. But we need them to try and interact with this Mother of Runes instead of playing the Borrower. Maybe they forget they have a Borrower. Nope, they're playing it. Alright, that's us done. Yeah, that felt particularly harsh. It feels like the sort of matchup that we should be good against. But the quality of blue-black spells at the moment is so strong, and the quality of what we're doing... There's a reason you don't see many Death and Taxes decks and why they're trying to innovate with different colour additions. This is the matchup where Magus of the Moon could have been pretty good, but I don't think that's something we can rely on when our opponent was so adamantly fetching basics in the first games. I think we did have to tap out for that Solitude. Maybe we didn't have to immediately do that. We could have waited a touch longer so that we could at least hold up our Red Blast and just play it slower. But we were slowly getting chiseled out of the game by the little token. I don't know, it's a tricky one. Death and Taxes is a hard deck to play. You don't get to save yourself with like cantrips and stuff to fix your hand and find what you need. You kind of have to make sure you use every resource precisely, which is why you get people that play a lot of Death and Taxes. And, you know, they get better from doing it. And I certainly don't have those reps. All right, on to round 4. Welcome to round 4. We've got a pretty reasonable hand here. We've got some 2-drops into 3-drops. We can spend our first turn using an Elegant Parlor. If our opponent wants to Wasteland it, then so be it. But if they're on the play and they make a threat, then maybe we don't do that. We'll see. We're going to keep this one though. Once upon a time from our opponent. That probably gives us a little bit of indication of what they're playing. Oh, okay, this definitely gives us an indication of what they're playing. We're probably looking for Eldrazi. I would imagine this is what the list is. And they are on like 2 Once Upon a Time and 3 to 4 Devour of Destiny these days. That makes me less inclined to play this Elegant Parlor, but if our opponent wastelands this, they're unlikely to do anything with just this Ancient Tomb. So I am going to take the Parlor and have a go with that now. A Solitude. That is the sort of card we want here. The punish here is if our opponent plays enough mana to get a Sowing Microspawn into play and then wastelands us. And then they get a threat and they set us back. Alright, so an Elvish Spirit Guide here would do that. Or a Lotus Petal. Okay, so we're going to get somewhat punished for that one. Yep, here comes a Microspawn. And that's probably game at this point. And that's not true. We've got the Solitude, but we're going to be set back a fair bit here. But let's say the top card of our library isn't a removal spell. Getting closer to a removal spell using our first land there is kind of clutch. We can use the Ajani to block, and then we're also going to have a red permanent in the Bombardiers, so that's probably the curve we're looking for here. Spirit of the Labyrinth can just be a sort of 2-mana lightning bolt in the attack step for blocking with, which is fine. Oh, they got a Cradle. That means we don't have to take a beating for a turn. Okay, nope, I tell a lie. It means we are going to take a beating because they're going to play another Microspawn. And we're going to have no permanents and our opponent's going to have 5 permanents. Yeah, okay. I don't believe we're winning this game. Yep, quite the turn 2 from our opponent there. From a supposedly fair deck. Okay, get our planes out and we'll pass. Can we afford to hold the Solitude back? It the heralds the end. The One Ring. Yikes. Yeah, our opponent is absolutely just styling on us over there. So, are we supposed to get rid of one of these Mica spawns, which reduces 4 damage that we take? Or are we supposed to get rid of the heralds the end, which is effectively 4 damage plus X? But we don't know how much that's going to be moving forward. Get rid of Spirit Labyrinth. Just get rid of one of these guys and keep our life total high for now. We are getting absolutely smashed up here. Let's go and get ourselves another planes. Let's get a chump blocker. We've got the Skyclave, which can deal with the One Ring, but not before it becomes a draw 3 already. And our opponent's got lots of options to just smash us to pieces in their deck. They can Devour of Destiny and just strip out our Ajani here. Depending on if they've got Line Breaker, they can do Line Breaker stuff. Unlikely to find Line Breaker with the Once Upon a Time though. Generally speaking, the Line Breaker decks tend not to run the Once Upon a Times, from what I've seen anyway. So this is going to be a kicked Mica spawn, maybe. So this could be a Devour of Destiny here. Maybe a Kozilek's Command. There is the command. Goodbye, Ajani. They're going to get to dig for the next piece that destroys us. They've left 2 mana open here, which means they can get another Mica spawn or a Thought-Knot Seer and play that immediately. Thought-Knot Seer. Alright, so we're going to take our best card here. Probably the Skyclave. So we can recruit her for a Solitude. That might be useful. Oh, they've given us a block on their 2-2. I'll take that. Alright, I'll take a freebie. I think it's going to help, but it can't hurt, can it? So, I guess we don't need to actually crack that too. Thinking about it. Let's get our Recruiter of the Guard up and running. Alright, what is the correct pick for us here? Is it a Skyclave? What do we do if we get a Skyclave? We can't really mess around with their One Ring anymore. It probably does have to be the Skyclave. And we just have to try and take out their threats. Because otherwise we're going to die to them. But our opponent can play pretty much whatever they want here. They can probably tutor for a very terrifying monster if they don't already have it in hand via the One Ring. I do not expect to win this game. Our opponent played 2 Mica spawns on turn 2. What are we supposed to do? A Glaring Fleshraker. Okay. Kozilek's Command and we die. A One Ring. You know, that's pretty bad for us. Obviously. Because they have the Eye of Ugin, they get discount for loads of stuff. Yeah, we're not coming back from this. We don't have a Cataclysm or something we can just fire off. So, I would like some more removal, please. I would like some more Blood Moon action. And Wrath of Skies is too slow to matter here. And these other cards doing things. It's just these 2 cards. Not the amount of cards I was hoping to be bringing in. Lion Sash does nothing here. So I can go. Umezawa's Jitte is fine. Spirit of the Labyrinth is pretty bad, but it can just be a 2 mana creature that can trade off with a bunch of their things because it's front loaded. Is that what we're doing? I think so. Our opponent must know we're running Magus of the Moon as well. We got 1 drop, we got removal, we got a little flicker that maybe does something. I think this is acceptable. I just think our opponent's deck's power level is so much higher than ours. The ceiling of what their deck can do is, you know, borderline combo deck looking. Like, they can just combo you down and kill you on turn 2. It's happened to me before with double Fleshraker hands. But that's just a thing we have to live with here. The Giver of Runes gives us protection from colorless. We do still have our Mother of Runes in, but they are 1/1 blockers. And that's better than the cards that we could have brought in, really. I guess we could have brought in a Containment Priest for a 2/2 blocker. A Chalice of the Void. That's going to shut down our Plow, but we can flicker this out if we need to. A Bombardiers. Okay, so we're not doing anything on this turn cycle. This can only target other creatures, so we're going to go and get our 1 point of damage in. They've got an Ancient Tomb, so we need to pressure their life total and try and make the most of that. If we can cut them off with mana in a few turns by hitting them, that'd be good. Eye of Ugin. Thought-Knot Seer. Alright. What do we lose here? Is it the Flickerwisp or the Bombardiers? They're both pretty good. I don't think we're going to win this game. Alright, they took the Flickerwisp, which means we can't get rid of the Chalice and turn on our Swords to Plowshares. Understood. Right, there is a Lotus Petal. There is another Lotus Petal. 3 cards left in our opponent's hand. Alright, we are in dire straits here. We need to find ourselves a Magus of the Moon or something like that. Magus isn't even, like, super amazing here because they've got things like Mica Spawn and they're already so far ahead on board. You need to go to your second main phase before you play your things that destroy us. Nope, we decided against it. Okay. Get the Parlor. We do not need another land. Glad we got around that. Sorry, I just got some message from a Vintage Cube problem that's happening. Okay, so another uncastable card. That's exciting for us. Let's go and get ourselves planes here. Deploy the Bombardiers. Go attacks. This has Menace, so they can't block it. We can get 2 damage in. I don't think I'm going to be throwing this Giver of Runes just yet. We're going to use this to keep our Bombardiers alive, and then we can try and throw something else down the line. If we can draw some things that aren't 1-drops. Cavern of Souls. We got the Magus Born here. Kozilek's Command. That's going to give our creature protection colorless. They could have a Dismember. So the Giver of Runes does allow you to protect against colorless creatures and spells like Eldrazi's, but it doesn't allow you to protect itself, which is sort of one of the more toxic things that Mother of Runes does, or used to do. I don't think that's toxic in today's Legacy environment, but back in the day, just having a mother that could sit there and protect herself all the live long day was fine. Aha, joke's on you, opponent, because we don't want any of these cards in our hands. They don't do anything. So they get to exile one of these, and then if we can get rid of a Thought-Knot Seer, we get a bonus card that would have been uncastable. So that's kind of like a very, very slow looting effect, if we can kill their guy. A Skyclave Apparition, you say? I don't mind if I do. Right, let's get this redraw. Let's take out this Thought-Knot Seer. Alright, not a helpful card. We bash for 2. I don't think we're trying to fire another 5 damage at our opponent this turn. We can do that next turn. The other option there is to take out the Chalice and play the Mother, but that sounds pretty weak to me. Alright, so our opponent just bottomed out. It that Heralds the End off of an Ancient Tomb. Sure. 1 card left in our opponent's hand. Another It that Heralds the End. So that is a 6-power guy. Okay, we're taking it. Alright, let's go and get our other Elegant Parlor. Because of this Chalice as well, there's so many draws here that are bad. That is one of them. Not because of the Chalice, just because of where we are in this game. Another land. So we deploy, I guess. The problem is if we attack with both creatures and they have to block, right? And if we attack with just the Bombardiers, if they double block, we can throw this at this guy. Then this will trade here. And that leaves them with just a 4/4. But then they also get the 4/4 from our Skyclaves, and they have 8 damage and we die. We can't do that. If we double block the Thought-Knot Seer, we do get to live for another turn. If we attack with Broadside Bombardiers and they don't block, then we kill them. So they just double block. And we have to lose our board. Yeah, we need our opponent to make a mistake. And we're currently not dead because our opponent has to draw something off the top here. If they tap their Ancient Tomb, we might have a chance to win this game. But if they tap their Ancient Tomb, they're going to be playing a spell that's probably going to kill us anyway. I think our chances of winning this game are about 20%. It's certainly possible. Yikes. Okay. What are you attacking with, opponent? Just the Thought-Knot Seer. Okay, so we just win this game now, right? We block here. They get a 4/4, but we just play Yorion. We attack with Bombardiers. We throw it at their face for 7. We just need to make sure we have the life total for that to work. We don't actually have to tap this for mana either. Because of, well, we don't have to crack it to go and find a land because we have the Yavimaya. Yorion, no targets. Attacks. Throw. Sacrifice this for 7 damages. Boom. Alright, we tied the match up. I think our opponent could have played that one slightly differently, but I'll take it. Don't want to do anything differently. Is a Spirit of the Labyrinth... Sorry, Spirit of Labyrinth and Containment Priest, are they better than Mother of Runes? Probably. Is Mother of Runes better than Aether Vial? Aether Vial can help against that Wasteland stuff, though. Is Lion Sash better than a Mother of Runes? Probably not. It's close, I guess. I think I'll... Because the creatures aren't going to the graveyard. They're getting exiled for the most part. So I think we're just going to go in like this. Now, we could bring in Wrath of the Skies to try and deal with their like Chalice or whatever, but I don't think that's a weird way to do it because we're never going to be able to kill their guys with it. Okay, yeah. I like this. We got a bit of removal. We got some more removal. If they do a Chalice on 1, then the sword easily gets pitched to our Solitude. Alright, so we know they've got a big boy for the future. What are you going to exile? Some lands. Okay, so our opponent is rolled up for lands. That's what that tells us. Or they found a better land. But the general thing to learn from that, I would say, is that our opponent's rolled up on lands. Right, I'm just going to play out this Plains and hold open this Swords to Plowshares. So Thought-Knot Seer is something we'd want to kill. A Glaring Fleshraker is the big one because that just allows them to snowball so hard. No play over there. So Stoneforge Mystic is a clock that can actually threaten what our opponent's doing. Let's go and get a Plains here. Like Kaldra is bigger than a lot of Eldrazi's, and it does clock pretty darn hard. So let's just go and get the Kaldra. And if our opponent has to spend a turn trying to remove our Stoneforge, like if they got Dismember here, that's annoying. Alright, they got Dismember, sure. But if they don't have the Dismember there, then they're toast. I don't think we're going to have time to do stuff with the Umezawa's Jitte. Eldrazi Temple. So our play this turn is likely to be something like Plow into Ajani. Okay, it there holds the end. That is not a very scary one. Crack this and get our basic mountain, I think, here. Get the Ajani down. It's better to play the Bombardiers once we already have stuff in play, because then we can start playing board control with it. I'm feeling okay. Which is not somewhere I was thinking I would be necessarily. Our opponent's hand is certainly quite far away from the ceiling of what this deck can do. So this is going to be so Myca Spawn, or is it going to be the Devourer, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, that's not enough for the Devourer yet. This reduces it by 1, because it's a 7 drop, but that's still 6. Oh wait, no, they have 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. No, it's just 5. Alright, so it's so Myca Spawn. Alright. Getting the Eye of Ugin. That is obviously a pretty terrifying thing for our opponent to have here. I got follow-up. What do I want to do here? I think I'm going to kill their Myco Spawn and then untap into the Bombardiers. And then the turn after, we have the Solitude. So we go to attacks. Just trying to work out if we attack with the Ajani here. We're flinging this, aren't we? So we're attacking with everything. Does that make sense here? And we attack with these two. And then if they trade here, we flip our guy. If they don't trade, then we deal damage and then we flip the guy. Flip it. Kill that guy. Make a cat. Dome our opponent. Alright, we're doing it. We've got a nice Solitude next turn to clean up this Devourer. Yep. And are they going after the Ajani or are they going after the Bombardiers? I think there's an argument for it both. Alright, they're going after the Ajani. Sure. We're going to crack our Arid Mesa and go and get ourselves a Elegant Parlor. I keep forgetting the name of that one. Elegant Parlor in play. Let's have a little surveil. No, stop drawing lands. Do you want this Karakas? I don't think so. I'm going to get another Parlor in a minute. It's going to make our opponent draw a lot of life. Draw a lot of life? Gain a lot of life even. We just tap this for green rather than cracking it. Our life points might be relevant. And we can use it to get a Parlor later. Right, so our opponent's back to 20. But we've got a reasonable board. We do have the mana to hardcast a Kaldra in a couple of turns. And we get to get our Yorion loop up soon. So we can try and loop our Solitude. And if we get to do that, I think we're okay. Is this another big boy? It is another big boy. You're going to take the Solitude. You're not taking the Solitude. So the loop is on. We just have to take one hit from this guy. Oh, we sure love drawing lands. I don't want them to see the Karakas just yet, so I'm going to play out another Flooded Strand, I think, here. We're not attacking because our guys just get run over by this Devourer in combat. We're a little ways off of activating Eye of Ugin to get more threats, but they've still got cards in hand, so I would assume they have threats here. If they herald's the end, that means they're attacking for 7. Okay, that is bad news. That is very bad news. I don't think we're blocking here. Guess we go and get ourselves an Elegant Parlor. A Wasteland. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This has to go into the graveyard. It's too late for that sort of thing. Like, a Magus isn't good enough here either. Just more lands. Just more lands. Okay. So we want to cast this Kaldra. Probably shouldn't have played out that Karakas there. Okay. So we're trying to trade with it there Herald's the End, and then the Phyrexian Germ token can just smash up the Devourer. Problem is, Kozilek's command just easily destroys our Devourer. Sorry, not our... the One Ring, okay, sure. It's a problem, but that's a different problem. We need to not lose to what's in front of us, and then we can worry about that problem. Ancient Tomb. That's just going to be tapping for green mana most of the time here. Are you attacking with your Devourer? You are. We'll block here. We'll block here, and we're going to go to 2. Solitude. That is a very handy one there. 1, 2, 3. So we had 7 last time, so we have 8 now. Alright, I guess we're holding back. We haven't seen a line breaker from our opponent. But what if they have a glaring flesh raker? We need to hit that as soon as we can, otherwise it's just going to kill us off. If we can do some Solitude stuff and then start blinking it and set up that loop, it'll be okay. It's a big ask, especially when our opponent's got this One Ring, and we're just going to give them more life to put into the One Ring so they can just tap it and go up to like 6 or 7 cards and just be like necroing every turn pretty much. Alright, what fresh hell are we going to see now? Thought Not Seer obviously breaks up our loop quite easily. What we can do is we can put the equipment on the Germ token. No, sorry, we can move the equipment off the Germ token onto our Solitude and just have like a massive lifelink threat that we can start racing with. Because we're going to need to gain some life at some point. Surprised I didn't kick that, but I guess we have a lot of lands. It's probably just not worth trying to blow up our lands at this stage. Although Karakas is definitely one I would consider trying to blow up. Because it does represent some pretty scary loops in our endgame inevitability. You feel very inevitable when you're facing the One Ring. Alright, opponents, what are you going to get us with now? Devourer to kill our Germ token? Could be. Dismember. Okay. So we're going to play our little friend here. They're going to gain loads of life. Do I want to just gain a boatload of life here? I think so. Comes a Solitude. We can follow up with a chump blocker if we need it. This also helps protect our creature, although it will make equipments fall off. And then we can attack, and then we can Yorion, get back our Kaldra with a token on it, untap our Solitude. We're finding a way. If our opponent can just tap all 3 of those ancient tombs, that'd be really handy. Oh, they're tapping 2 of them. They are tapping all 3. Okay, now I don't want them to do that because that's kind of scary. They're tutoring. What do they have? Glaring Fleshraker. There is a chance our opponent can kill us from 10 life here. If they've got Kozilek's Command, then we're probably dead. We made a real game of it, though. Alright, they're just playing some more chalices out. Well, we basically just F6 through this turn. We don't really have anything going on until the combat step. The amount of time our opponent's taking to put this spell on the stack does make me think we're looking at Kozilek's Command. There it is. So they kill this, shred all of our things. So yeah, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're on 1. We don't have any blockers now, and we're dead. Yep. I'm not a Death and Taxes player, and I don't think there are any gratuitous errors we made there. It does feel like we're operating on a different power level. Yes, we do have the ability to go and do some Magus of the Moon stuff here. But how are we supposed to compete with just all these bodies? Like, we need the Magus, really. I don't think we can win without it, which is a bit of an issue. We were close to turning the corner there. All right. Let's go to the final round. We're currently 1-3. Not a great showing, unfortunately. Let's see if we can put a 2-3 on the board. I don't think I can keep this one. It doesn't really do anything. This one definitely doesn't do anything because it's got no lands. Okay, this one we can keep. So I guess we want to keep land, and some spells. Do I think Magus is going to be good here or Bombardiers? Bombardiers is just better in a vacuum. But if we're on 5 cards, maybe we need to steal a game. Are we going to steal a game with a turn 3 Magus of the Moon? Unlikely. Do we just throw back the Solitude because we don't have a white card to pitch to? We are going to be drawing white cards. That's a given. We can always reach for the Yorion as well. I think it should be one of the 2 red cards. With less permanence, I'm inclined to actually get rid of the Bombardiers here. But this is a real decision. I think we might try and cheese a game with a Magus here. We have the Solitude for removal. We don't really have the permanence to be throwing away because we mulligan so heavily. Inquisition of Kozilek. Alright. We probably lose the Aether Vial here. No, the Moon. Okay, they are worried about the Moon. Let's get an Aether Vial in. I wonder what our opponent's going to be playing with this black mana. I've not seen this one before. I have no idea where it's from. Okay, our opponent's not doing anything there. Let's add a counter to our Aether Vial. I'm not expecting counter magic here. So I think we want to get this out of our hand. This could be a good card in this matchup. We will see. Different swamp. Is the that's an Onslaught swamp with 8th edition. Right. So our poor little friend dies here. So we take a little bit of damage. Stick up our Aether Vial. Swords to Plowshares. Not a bad one to have. I don't think we want to just burn it straight on our Bowmasters here. We can wait for something juicier. Our opponent's about to untap into potential Shoulder the Apocalypse mana, and that's a very fine thing to just kill straight up. I don't believe our opponent is running white. I think they are a black deck that is playing a few Surveil lands in their fetch land mana base. And maybe they have something to go with the fetch lands, like... Oh, jeez. Alright, I think we just let this hit. So, like I was saying, they might have some, like, Stalactite Stalker type cards, or whatever, or things that care about their graveyard and they want to delve them away. There's a few options there. They might have Fatal Pushes and they want to be able to trigger Revolt reliably, so you put fetch lands for that. Alright, I took the Plow. Not a surprise. Yep. In come the Goon Squad. Now we're down to 15. Alright. A Wasteland, that's something that we can play around if we're drawing fetches. Stoneforge Mystic. Does our opponent have an opposition agent here? If they do, we have to Recruiter of the Guard into our Solitude there. Alright. Do I just want to get a Jitte here? I think I do, given the board state. We can go and recruit whenever we need to. If our opponent shows us something that we want to deal with. The Long Goodbye. Okay. I could Recruiter here and trade off, or I could Recruiter, get a Flickerwisp, and then try and Recruiter again. There's a Stalactite Stalker. I said that might be a thing in the deck. 2 cards left in their hand. Let's activate this. Let's put in this Recruiter. Yes to the ability. What are we supposed to do about this? I think I quite like the Ajani here. Gives us multiple bodies that are actually good on this board. Am I upping this? I don't think I am. We have so many things at 3. A Stoneforge. I think I like the Ajani more than the Stoneforge on this board. am I attacking with just our recruiter? Opponent has Bowmasters are going to get this anyway. If they have Opposition Agent, they would have used it earlier. So I think we attack and get our 1 point in. They're not going to trade their Stalker. If they do, I'm happy with that trade. I don't really want to trade it for a Bowmaster. I'll trade it for a Fatal Push on our little Ajani. Sorry, friend. But we got 2 bodies. And at the moment, these sorts of bodies are actually doing some work. An Inquisition of Kozilek. They're going to take our Stoneforge or our Jitte. It's probably the Jitte, right? That gets very scary if we can stick on something. Am I training a cat off? So we're taking 3 damage, but we can crack back with 3 damage. I think I'm okay with this. We want to keep maximum bodies because we have a Jitte in hand. So if we trade off bodies, it gets harder to stick a Jitte. Because if we can get a hit in with a Jitte, then we're okay. Right, so they're Wastelanding, targeting itself so that they can get some Revolt. Sorry, not Revolt. What's it called? Descend on their guy. Am I ticking this up? I think I am. I'm almost certainly going to draw a 3-drop now, but we already have our mana spent for. Right, we drew a Wasteland. Jitte down. Wasteland down. Let's crack in. I don't really want to Wasteland because I quite like to go and get our Yorion next turn. Or at least have that as an option. Take a hit here. Now we get to start doing Umezawa's Jitte thing. Unfortunately, our creatures do all die to Orcish Bowmasters. Or the activated Stalactite Stalker. Equip onto this guy. Give him some damages. You know, Stalactite Stalker us here. I can live with that. We've got a Solitude we can flash in. We've got a source to Plowshares as well. I feel pretty confident now. I think we've kind of turned the screw enough in our favour. They're going to attack into this known Solitude. They are. Let's get rid of this Bowmasters. 2 cards left in our opponent's hand. Am I ploughing this? I don't think so. If our opponent doesn't play anything in their second main, then I will plough this. A Baragoyf. Look how rewarded I just was there. Beautiful. That's what you like to see. Get out of here, Baragoyf. We will not put a counter on this. I think we are just getting the equipment going here. We'll kill this one. They can't pump it with the Bowmasters. I will take out some of their mana so they can't play Baragoyfs as easily. I'll play our land. Next turn we can go and get the Yorion and flicker our Recruiter of the Guard after charging up our Jitte. I think we might have got there. I would like an Elegant Parlor. Just get a little bit of selection going. We will not put a counter on the Jitte, on the Vial. That's not a very exciting one. Let's put this into our hand. Attack with our Recruiter of the Guard. Alright, I feel very comfortable right now. Go for the throat. Don't want to flicker any of these. Maybe we could flicker the Aether Vial, but then we can start charging up again and get it to the right number. But we've got mana for the early numbers already. Let's pump our guy and try and kill our opponent. Alright. Yorion equipped with a Jitte in the year of our Lord 2024. Sure. Okay, so our opponent is a mono black deck, so get these Magus of the Moon right out of here. That's step 1. I think they're just like a fair deck, right? We haven't seen graveyard shenanigans, we've just seen them playing guys. So I think we want a Path to Exile here. And maybe a Wrath of the Skies, just like a nice emergency button we can press. But honestly, everything else seems fine. Like, I don't like the Spirit of the Labyrinth here. Maybe I prefer a 2-2 over that. Do I want this other Wrath of the Skies? I'm not in love with the Wrath of the Skies. Because we kind of want to have a bunch of our own permanents. But maybe it's just going to be better than the Spirit of the Labyrinth. Alright, we've got some basic lands. We've also got a beautiful curve. We'll keep this. Let's go 1, 2, 3. Now, our opponent can probably break this up with a Thoughtseize or Inquisition style effect. Right, Stalactite Stalker that's going to grow. Sure. We can deal with that later. Mother of Runes. Would you like to use some removal right away? Or are we just going to be able to protect our creatures for the rest of the game? That's your choice, opponent. Shadowy Backstreet. Getting some more information before they make their decision. Stalactite Stalker. Okay, so they're going to descend both of these creatures. Yep, it's pretty good. Clock is ticking over there. Another removal spell. Don't mind if I do. Right, let's play a creature so we can block their menace threat. They can activate a Stalactite Stalker to kill our creature. They got a removal spell here to blow us out. Feels like they might do. A Dismember. So the other choice is to double block this one so that doesn't happen, which is probably a tighter block. Right, so we're going to take one of our Skyclaves and then we're going to get rid of the Stalactite Stalker that's got 3 counters on. Right, I think we just go and get a mountain here for later. Just get our basics when we've got a land that actually gets the right basic. Jump this guy in, take out this Stalactite Stalker, and then we can sit back. Yeah, if we'd have blocked on the 2-2, we'd have been in a better shape there. I think that was a misplay by us there. Forced our opponent to have the removal, and they certainly did. Alright, I'm just going to take the 2 from this one. Our opponent's life total has taken a bit of a beating from their own cards. Right, I'm going to attack with our Skyclave Apparition here. An Orcish Bowmasters. What would you like to do with your Orcish Bowmasters? We'd like to ping my Mother of Runes. Mother of Runes targets itself. Gives it protection from black. Mother of Runes survives. The Orcish Bowmaster doesn't make a token, so they can't block effectively here. And we Flickerwisp. I will blink our Skyclave. You get a 1-1, but I get to take out your evasive threat. Oh, we didn't play the Parlor there. That was an error on my part. That might come back to bite us. Right, we're going to lose our Flickerwisp. No, we're going to lose our Mother, sure. There's quite a lot of damage we can put down on our opponent here. We'll attack with the Flyer. Could have double spelled this turn if we didn't pass through our turn on that. Do I want this now? No, let's get this Ajani in. Like, we're way better at playing the fair game than our opponent's deck is. That's how it feels. Our opponent's going to be way better into combo matchups because they've got all the hand disruption and things like Bowmasters, which has incidental hate against the sort of combo decks. But when it comes to just a heads-up, fair play matchup, we should be head and shoulders above what our opponent's doing. I thought see. So probably going to lose the Witch Enchanter here. No, we're losing the Spirit. Okay, surprises me. They got loads of 1-1s. I wouldn't be so scared about that. A 2-2 is kind of good on this board, weirdly. Plains. Right, we're attacking with our Flickerwisp. I think I'm going to attack with the Cat Warrior. Just get a trade. Snuff out on our Flickerwisp. Our opponent's going to need to trade here. One of our opponents got Death Shadows in their deck. So it's going to flip our Ajani. This allows us to make more cats. And then I think I'm going to put this Yorion to hand. And then play out our Plains. So we can flip our Ajani and our Skyclave next turn if we want to, just to get more stuff on board and reduce what our opponent's got going on. Should be quite difficult for our opponent to get back from here with the amount of mana they have. If they're a Death Shadow deck and can play some large boys, then sure. But nope, that's the concession, that's the match, and that is the league over and done with. Let's have a quick look at our games. So we finished 2-3. Not a good record. We did split all the games we lost, so we were working hard in this league and it was a long one. How do I feel about this deck though? I did record half of this league and then had a night's sleep and then recorded the other half, so I can't quite remember what we played against the first half now. Nevertheless, my feelings about Death and Taxes is I'm glad there are people playing it, and there are some people who play Death and Taxes and they play it very well. I am definitely not one of those people. I think what we're doing is fundamentally too fair. We're just playing just like, you know, a bunch of guys in a format where, you know, you look at what the Eldrazi deck can do. It can turn to play 2 4-drops and Wasteland us. You know, that's crazy. And, you know, there's loads of combo decks and stuff like that. And we don't really have anything to fight against those combo decks. What I will say is that this particular version with the red in, I quite like. The one downside I'm finding is I want more red permanents. Having the Ajani actually dealing damage is really gross when you have the backside of this working. When we're basically just getting the front side and it's just kind of like Kitten Blossom on the backside, it's not that exciting. It's fine, you know, it's a reasonable role player, and in certain matchups it's going to do work, but I think you really need to be able to leverage the backside more in order to get there. As for like these cards, Broadside Bombardiers is excellent. It's probably one of the best cards in this deck in my opinion. This card is really strong, and we do end up with a lot of chaff. Maybe we should be playing some ways of having more chaff though, as weird as that sounds. Because what are we throwing away here? We're not going to be throwing away our Mother Runes. We can throw our Ajani token, that's fine. We can throw a Stoneforge Mystic or a Recruiter, I suppose. Those are fine. But like Spirit of the Labyrinth is probably doing a job, or Aether Vial is probably doing a job. Like when we've emptied all our hand out and stuff, maybe we can just have the Vial and throw that. But we do want the Aether Vial as something that we can use for our Yorion loops to make that a lot easier. So I'm not really sure about that one. Makes the Moon I do like. I think this is a useful card to have access to, and I think that's the reason why people are playing red right now is because of the Magus more than anything else. Spirit of the Labyrinth is a card that we have to talk about. It's a weird one, right? Because when it's good, it can do quite a lot of work. But as you saw, Orcish Bowmasters makes this look embarrassing. And the decks that you kind of want this for, you know, are your Tamiyo and Frog decks. And they have access to Orcish Bowmasters in their 75. Now, they're not running the full set these days, but they can do, right? If Death and Taxes picks up in the meta, then Orcish Bowmasters will pick up a bit, and then goodbye Spirit of the Labyrinth. And then the main thing we're using to keep that in check is going to fall apart, and we're going to have to rely heavily on our Blast from the sideboard, which I do like the Blast, but remember we're an 80 card deck. So having 4 Blasts in our sideboard means that 1 in 20 cards is going to be a Blast, which is, you know, not that much. We can't really rely on those. Now, we do have lots of good white removal, which is kind of going to be doing a similar thing. It's going to get rid of your Murktides, your Tamiyos, your Psychic Frogs, all that sort of jazz is going to get cleaned up by those as well. So it's kind of just augmenting that. So it may not look as like a 1 in 20 card rather than a complement to a bunch of things that we're already having. So we're just going up on those effects. But I think I would like to see a version of this that plays more red things. Because I think the red-white energy deck I played, I think I played that on the channel, that felt like it was doing more than this one's doing a lot of the time. Now, the end game of Yorion loops is pretty good, but maybe there's some kind of like Yorion energy deck that can be played. And that might be able to incorporate the things about this deck that I like. So, you know, you have your self-contained packages that win you the game, like your Stoneforge Mystics. And then you have, you know, Recruiter shenanigans. Being able to Recruiter for like some nice energy stuff could be really interesting too. You could even be playing a 3-color build. I don't know. Maybe I'm going to have a little fiddle with that and see how it feels. Obviously, I am not like a fair white creatures deck sort of person. I like to play decks that have an unfair element to them, right? And the most unfair thing we do probably is Stoneforge. I guess some people would say Magus of the Moon too. But generally, I like to play decks that have that button to press. You know, like Cradle Control can play this fair grindy game, but it's got an Oops I Win button. Green White Depths has got an Oops I Win button. Those sorts of decks feel like a really good place to be because you have different gears for different sorts of situations. And they give you really nice comeback mechanics in the form of, okay, I can just, oops, I get you with this thing that you're not prepared for. And I do like to play decks like that myself, whereas this one feels quite fair and grindy, and I'm not 100% convinced. Now, I do think this is better than some of the other bits and pieces we're seeing. Like, I think this is probably better than the black and white Taxes build. But again, we're not really Taxes anymore, are we? We're kind of just Stompy because we're not taxing anyone. I think it's also a shame to not be playing the white guy that blows up a land. Now, obviously, we're doing Magus of the Moon action instead, which is, you know, going to be oppressing our opponent's mana base if they're in Eldrazi deck in a much stronger fashion, which is kind of where you want this. Also good against the Cloudpace deck too. But, yeah, it's a hard sell to play Death and Taxes in the modern age. There was once a time where there were some great players smashing big tournaments with Death and Taxes week in, week out. And it just feels like those times are in the rearview mirror. And I'm not sure what we need to do to make Death and Taxes into a really viable deck towards the top of the tiers. I don't think this is it. Sorry to say. And is this even Death and Taxes at that point? I don't know. We're not taxing anyone. I'll let you be the decider of that one. I'm still going to call it Strawberry Taxes because it's close enough. Like, the deck has morphed over time away from some of the taxing effects, Thalia being bad and stuff. But maybe when December rolls around, if we get any bannings, maybe that will shake things up and can help a deck like this. But I think I'm going to try and put together something splicing this with energy at some point for the channel. It's not really my wheelhouse for building, but I don't know, I'm curious. I want to see how it goes. All right. Well, the reason for doing that as well, actually, before I sign off, is the Ocelot Pride and Guide of Souls plan is kind of better than a lot of the things we're doing here, right? Like, threat-wise, that is something that just snowballs out of control and can win games. It can help you go wide with the Ocelot or tall with the Guide, and that's a really nice lever to have. Whereas we're kind of on the small end. We're not even running anything like Battle of Bywater, which is a card that has impressed me quite a lot out of Death and Taxes decks in the past, which is 1 white sorcery, destroy all creatures with power 3 or greater, I think it is. And then I think you get food or something out of it. But basically, it's a one-sided wrath because we're playing all these little creatures. Now, obviously it doesn't work with Spirit of the Labyrinth, but maybe Spirit of the Labyrinth is the problem here. I guess if Psychic Frog goes away from the format, then you don't need Spirit of the Labyrinth to kind of deal with that. I think I prefer just dealing with it with, you know, Swords to Plowshares, Solitudes, that sort of jam. All right, I think we've comprehensively gone over this one. I'm sure there'll be some Death and Taxes experts in the comments telling me why I'm wrong, and I welcome it because I like to learn. I am wrong about stuff, especially with decks I don't play very often, and I like to be educated and learn more as long as people do it in good faith, and I'm just screaming and wailing at me in the comments. But yeah, I'm always happy to see a little bit of criticism and work out what the attraction to this deck is. It's a bit like Maverick, I suppose, as well, where, you know, people just love that deck, and I just can't understand playing all this, you know, playing fair stuff in a format with Brainstorm and Dark Ritual and Crop Rotations and all these really cool stuff you can do. But because it's not for me, doesn't mean it's not for somebody else. And that's the joy of Legacy. There is something for everyone. But whether or not this is where you want to be, I'm still not convinced. All right. Ramble over and done with. Thank you so much for joining me on this one. Please remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of my content. We're going to be doing some new stuff with a new set hopefully next week, I think, for you lovely people, in terms of when I'm recording this and when the set comes out. I'm going to try and make sure that I can get into the new content in the first week of it going up. So remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss that. Alright, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.